guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to be teaching you guys about fractions. It might seem scary at first when you start learning it, but it's very simple. I mean, fraction. It's just a fraction. Why should you be scared? Basically, a fraction is like, it's a piece of something. It's a part of something. And let's say, for example, we have a pizza here, okay? Here. And we had 3/4. The 3 is what we call the numerator, and the 4 is what we call the denominator, which is at the bottom of the bar. On the top, it says how many pieces I take of how many pieces there's at the bottom. So at the bottom is how many pieces there are in total. At the top is how many pieces I take out of those pieces, the denominator. And it might seem a bit tricky at the beginning here, guys, but throughout the video, I'm going to be talking to you guys all about fractions and everything that you're gonna need to know about them, like simplifying fractions, giving equivalents to fractions, a bunch of things like that. And don't worry, at the end of this video, you'll hopefully going to be able to get good grades in fractions on your math class. So let's get right into the video. So now guys, let's actually do, the fractions. So, some basic things that we need to know, first of all, is like these simple signs. Like a half. This is a half. 1/2 is a half. Okay? Or for example, we could say 1/4. That would be a quarter. Okay? And it's also important to note the name of this and of this. This is the numerator, and down, the 4 in this case, is the denominator. So the upper number is always the numerator, and the lower number, which in this case is 4, is always the denominator. And so, when we put things like a half or a quarter, what do we mean by that? Well, let's take a representation with this circle here. Let's imagine we took a half of the circle. Well, half, which is also known as 50%, it would be divided by 2. The circle would be divided by 2 equal parts. So, below here, not only is it the denominator, but also tells us how many parts are we dividing a shape in, or an object. So, let's say here our circle, we're dividing by 2. How do we know? Well, because here it's written 2 as the denominator, which is telling us that we're dividing our circle into 2 pieces, 2 parts. And we said 1/4. Well, here we'd have to divide it in 4 pieces because there's a 4 as the denominator. Okay, pretty simple. Another thing which is important also to know is that, for example, here, this, which is also a half, is also considered as 1 divided by 2. So that's a lot of information for the beginning, guys. It's really important, and I'm going to be going in depth more in this video. So, like we were saying in the beginning, this, for example, is considered as a half, okay? And a half, like I said, is when you divide a shape into 2 pieces. And so, imagine if we said 1 and 8 as the denominator, 1 as a numerator, and 8 as the denominator, which would also be known as 8, okay? And let's try to make a representation of that on a circle. If we can count, as you can see also, this shape is divided into 8 parts, which makes it an 8. And you might be saying, well, we always changing the denominator's number and we're never changing the numerator number. Well, let me show you guys, like, let's take the same example of a circle. And let's say it was cut into 4 pieces. And let's say, for example, 2 out of 4, okay? Well, as the name suggests, it would be 2 pieces out of 4 pieces. So how can we find easier way to identify the numerator and denominator? Well, let's say you have like any number in the denominator below. Like let's say in this case, 2 out of 4. Say 2 and then out of 4. We did it from up to down. And when you do that, then when you hear 2 out of 4, you're like, oh, 2 out of 4. 2 pieces out of 4 pieces. And well, it's the same thing. We have 2 pieces, one here and one here, out of 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 pieces in total, but we only take 2 pieces. And imagine if we also said like maybe 3 out of 4. Well, this would be 3 pieces. And let's say I do 1/2. How would that look like? It would look like this, right? 1/2. Like, these two examples look pretty similar, right? Because here, it's a half. And here, it also looks like a half, right? Well, yes. Let me explain something to you guys. Sometimes our fractions can get really, 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 really big, okay? Let's say, for example, 36 out of like 48, okay? This is really complicated, right? I mean, you won't know on top of your head exactly how to represent this in your mind. But we can make it much simpler. How? Well, let me show you guys right now. So, what we want to do here is put a bar. It's going to help us a lot. You're going to see, guys. Okay, and now we want to find what we call factors. What is a factor? Well, a factor basically, in simple terms, and you should, by the way, watch a video about factors, but in simple terms, it's what number times what number times what number. Basically, which numbers times each other is equal to the number. So the factor 36 is, for example, 4 times 9. Except, in this case, we want to simplify it. So we could have said 4 times 9, but 4 we can simplify it even more by dividing it by 2, which would make 2. And 9 we can divide it by 3, which would make 3 times 3. Right? Okay, you see where I'm going? And, of course, everything could be simplified. Everything could be simplified even more. But, like, here, up down to 2 times 3 times 3. We can't really simplify this anymore, right? Like, 3 is a prime number, for example. We can't really simplify it. And we can group this up to see this is 9. Which 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And 4 times 9 is equal to 36. Okay, 48. What can we see in 48? Divided by 2. What can we see? 24. 2 times 24. But I'm not going to write 24 because we can simplify 24. What is 24? 24 is also 2 times 12. 12 we can simplify it to make it 2 times 6. 6 can be simplified 2 times 3. Okay, and now that we simplified these, this is the steps where it gets really interesting. Well, as you can see, guys, we have a lot of pairs here. We have a lot of 2s, and we have a lot of 3s. So what do we do? So, as you can see here, we have a 2, and we have a 2 also up here. So what are we going to do? X them out. We have 1 pair, 2 pairs, and now there are no any other pairs of 2, because if we're trying to do pairs, it has to be like, let's say, for example, 2 here and another 2 up here. It can't be like a 2 times 2 and they're both in the denominator. That's not possible. And here we can see we have a 3 here and a 3 here, which is a pair. Bam, bam. So what do we have left? We have a 2 times 2 and a 3. So now we only have 3 up there. And we have 2 times 2, which is, of course, 4. Look at the before and after, guys. So before was 36 out of 48. And now we made it equal to 3 out of 4. 3/4. And by the way, guys, it's very important. When you write your equal sign, you want it to be in between the bars, the fraction bars. Yeah. So you see, guys, we turned this really complicated fraction into a simple one. Beautiful, simple one. Okay. That was one example, guys. Also, guys, if you want to overcomplicate this, which I don't recommend, but we can also do it, is we could do, for example, 3 times 2 and 4 times 2. So if we want to make it even more complicated, and if we want it to always be equal to the same thing, then whatever we multiply up, we want to multiply down. So let's say I wanted to find equivalent fraction to 3/4. I could do 3 times anything, even decimals, anything, but I have to multiply what I multiply up also down, like in algebra. Don't forget about algebra. Forget about what I just said. Just everything you need to know for making fractions even more complicated, which I really don't recommend, is that you want to just do whatever you multiply the numerator by, you have to multiply the denominator by, and it will always be the same value. Okay, and before we stop, 2 last things I want to tell you guys. First of all, let's say I have 5 out of 2. What would this be equal to? Well, this would be equal to, just use logic, guys. If we had 5 halves, what would that be? It would be 1 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Logic. Because now I have 5 halves. Just read it like this. 5 halves. Okay? And so, okay, according to this, how many circles can you see filled? 1, 2, 2. Okay? So if we simplify this, in this case, it would be equal to 2 plus 1/2. Because if we try to see how many 2's are in 5, or 5 divided by 2, we can see that there are 2 2's in 5 plus a half. Let's say 10 out of 4. We have 2 4's plus, so it would be 2 quarters, because it would be the remainder of 2, which is going to be 2 of the number with the denominator, which would be 2 quarters. So yeah, that's also a very important rule. So whenever you see the numerator being larger than the denominator, just try to do that. And so yeah, guys, that's basically it for this lesson. Actually, before we go, let me ask you guys one thing that you should do at home, and that maybe that you could try to your teachers as one homework. Simplify 63 out of 70. Okay, guys? That's what I want you guys to do. I want you to simplify this fraction. Okay? And show it to your teachers, and I'm sure that they'll be proud. Okay. Yeah, now we're gonna end. And if you have any doubts, guys, I recommend you to ask your teacher about it, or even just rewatch your video, or watch other videos. Yeah, make sure that you got it, and I'm sure that your teacher will be proud. See you in the next one. Bye.